This is In the Loop. I'm Christian Bryant. This is a show where we combine award-winning journalism with the spirit of an overexcited YouTube vlogger. Let's give it a shot. This year, all eyes will be on the Supreme Court as the battle over Roe v. Wade looms closer. But outside of these high-profile cases over abortion laws, there's another part of the anti-abortion movement that's been quietly growing for decades, and it's often overlooked. I'm talking about facilities known as crisis pregnancy centers, or CPCs. They can go by a lot of similar names: Women Resource Center, Pregnancy Support Centers. But even if you haven't heard of any of these, you've probably seen an ad for one without even realizing it. On the surface, crisis pregnancy centers are volunteer-run organizations, usually religiously affiliated, that provide free or affordable non-clinical services, typical pregnancy tests, free diapers and counseling, and pregnancy decisions. But beneath that, they seem to have a very different goal. Health and family correspondent Amber Strong went to Indianapolis to tell us more about what these centers really do.
Depending on how many children they have in diapers, sometimes we need to use a big bag.
Jess Marchbank is packing up diapers, baby wipes, soap, you name it, for moms and dads in Bloomington, Indiana.
Well, with a lot of families using public transportation, we want to make it really easy for them to carry, if possible.
The night before, her group, All Options Pregnancy Resource Center, handed out diapers to 40-plus parents.
For the month of December, we distributed over 12,000 diapers, and I think it was 160 packages of wipes.
The team here say they work to live up to their name.
They need pregnancy test, a dental dam, and condoms.
Providing all options to clients. Sometimes that includes funding an abortion. She jokingly calls her group the Anti-Crisis Pregnancy Center.
We've had people come in assuming that we were another crisis pregnancy center, and they'll say, oh, sure, every pregnancy resource center says that abortion is okay, but most of them don't actually mean that. And I say, well, we do actually mean it.
When faced with an unplanned pregnancy and not sure where to turn, many people start their search online. From my home in Virginia, when I type in abortion options near me or the word abortion, the first result may look like this. The second looks like this. Very similar in phrasing and web design. But if you scroll to the bottom of the page, you get this. This clinic does not perform or refer abortions. The similarities in advertising between those who do provide abortion resources and the crisis pregnancy centers who don't have abortion rights groups crying foul.
Not only do they not support abortion rights, they're actively opposed to accessing abortion.
Crisis pregnancy centers, or CPCs, were created in the 1960s as the debate over abortion laws accelerated. While many offer medical advice and appear to be clinics, the team of researchers and lawyers at the Alliance say only 16% actually employ a licensed physician.
They try to become medical, but they don't really get that very far down that path, in part because they would have to be regulated.
Their main offers are over-the-counter pregnancy tests, non-medical ultrasounds, and goods like diapers, which are typically obtained after completing courses such as Bible studies. They've been documented as purposely misleading clientele and lying about gestation dates to delay abortions. According to the Alliance, since their inception, they now outnumber abortion clinics 3-1.
Right now, we serve 30,000 women a year.
That statistic is good news for people like Jenny Hunsberger, who says she's dedicated her career to the movement.
I always say I have the world's shortest resume. I've always been at Women's Care Center.
As vice president of the nationwide CPC Women's Care Center, she says their mission is to be upfront with women about their anti-abortion stance.
We list the services that we do provide and that we don't provide on our website, and it's on every page of our website.
She says their clients are thankful for the supportive ear and the free goods and services, like breastfeeding equipment and clothing they earn through their Crib Club, which rewards parents after completing parenting courses, which she insists don't have religious undertones. While Hunsberger won't comment on whether some CPCs are practicing in bad faith, she does say,
women are very smart. They know who we are, they know what we do, and they choose to come to us because they know the care that we provide.
By their own admission, many of the people visiting CPCs already plan to proceed with their pregnancies and are just there for the goods and services. Back Back in Bloomington,
It is full service. We try to meet as many of their needs as we can.
Marchbank admits she's referred clients who aren't pregnant to CPCs when she runs out of an item.
I have clients who come here and they go to the other 2 centers because people need resources. And I don't begrudge them that at all.
Still, she says at her place, people will never have to earn the things they need, be it emotional support or a pack of wipes. Amber Strong, Newsy, Bloomington, Indiana.
All right, many thanks, Amber, for that breakdown. Now we want to look into why these controversial centers are so important to the wider anti-abortion movement. The accusations of false advertising for CPCs go beyond just the misleading websites you saw there. Those criticisms have followed the centers ever since they were founded. Dr. Andrea Swartzendruber at the College of Public Health at the University of Georgia has been studying CPCs and their mission for a long time.
The centers have a primary mission of preventing people or talking people out of seeking abortion, but they don't always make that mission clear. And what they do is frequently is provide inaccurate health information, particularly the risks around the risks of abortion.
There was actually a study done by a women's rights group that looked at CPCs across 9 states and found almost 2/3 of their health information was inaccurate or misleading. Originally, this is what the first crisis pregnancy centers were explicitly intended to do. The founder of the first crisis pregnancy center, Robert Pearson, says so right in the manual, suggesting centers adopt dual names, one to attract pro-life donations and another to draw abortion-bound women. At one point it quips, "A car dealer, when he's advertising, does not list the things his auto won't do. So why should we say we don't do abortions?" In the decades that followed, CPCs faced repeated scrutiny over this. After an investigation in 1991, Congress condemned CPCs for consumer fraud. Later in 2018, the Supreme Court heard a case over a California law requiring CPCs to disclose their lack of medical license in their ads, but the court overruled it, claiming it violated the free speech of the CPCs. Other states have successfully passed laws that either fine CPCs for deceptive advertising, like in Connecticut, or require centers to disclose whether they have licensed medical staff, like in New York.
Yeah, we've seen over the years, certainly a consistent growing trend of crisis pregnancy centers presenting themselves as medical facilities and comprehensive healthcare clinics, when in fact that they are not.
Now, that's a key point in a lot of these legal debates and a concern for researchers. Places with clinical services, including abortion clinics, are under strict regulations on everything from the medical procedures themselves to patient privacy. Crisis pregnancy centers, despite appearances, usually do not have medically licensed staff on hand so they can avoid oversight.
We know of circumstances whereby even volunteers at crisis pregnancy centers who are medically trained but concerned about infection control at the centers and did turn to other regulatory boards like health departments and medical boards and nursing boards. And a lot of people in those organizations kind of saying, we're not in charge of that. We don't regulate them.
One major study from a women's rights group found 56% of CPCs analyzed offered only non-diagnostic ultrasounds, which can't measure certain health factors or detect major problems with the fetus. That can miss health issues or misjudge how far along a pregnancy is, which can be dangerous for the mother. Another reason CPCs are worth paying more attention to is how much they're receiving in taxpayer funds. Several states directly fund these centers, with at least 10 diverting millions in federal aid meant for welfare and struggling families, often directing it through alternatives to abortion programs. For example, Texas saw a $100 million increase in 2019, followed by an additional $20 million in 2020 using such a program.
Crisis pregnancy centers are definitely part of the kind of the grassroots movements and advocacy for abortion restrictions. Our data show that in the states that have more crisis pregnancy centers, the number of centers actually predicts introduction of legislation to restrict or ban abortion. We found an association that the number of centers in the prior year predicted the introduction of legislation that would ban or restrict abortion.
Crisis pregnancy centers often focus on people with limited access to healthcare, like younger women and girls, marginalized groups, or low-income households. And while they can provide affordable help or a safe space for certain women, there is growing momentum to get government funding redirected to medically licensed women's clinics. Because if there's anything that CPCs do show us, it's that there's a greater need for affordable childcare, resources for women, and access to healthcare. And maybe professionally licensed clinics can provide a safe and reliable alternative without the risks found at some crisis pregnancy centers.